Welcome to Module 3. My name is Luke Barber, and also with me is
Tyler Hannigan.
Today, we're going to talk about communicating effectively and connecting with others. We must remember that communications is more than just talking to each other. It has two parts. There's the person that sends the message, and then there is the person that listens and receives the message. Both parts being very important, many times people forget that listening is just as important when it comes to connecting with others while communicating.
To be an effective communicator, one major factor in order to communicate our message is to be able to share with people what we are trying to convey in a specific way that helps them to want to listen to us. What does it mean when we say, for a person to want to hear us?
Think about context and think about ways in which you become frustrated with another person when communicating. Take the time now to discuss with a family member, friend, or direct support team member how you feel when people do not listen to you and how you feel when you do not want to listen to people. Also, share ways in which you can overcome this behavior. You may pause the video now.
Now that we have shared our thoughts about how we feel about speaking, listening, and being listened to, let's talk about the 4 types of communications. They are verbal communications, nonverbal communications, written communications, visual communications. Let's talk about each of them. When we speak about verbal communications, it is simply talking and using words with our voice or sound. Very simple. Nonverbal communications is defined as communicating without sound, but only with gestures or body language. For example, when I hold up my hand like this, it means stop. When we speak about written communications, it is written down conveying a message, written through the use of words or figures. And the last type is visual. It is similar to written, but can just be an idea of the use of a color or symbols. Now we are going to do an activity that reviews these 4 types of communications. Pause the video and locate your worksheet now. It looks like this. On our worksheet, circle the correct types of communications that best describes the clue that is given. We will go over the answers when you have completed this activity. You may pause the video now.
Now that you have completed the worksheet, let's go over the answers. In the first question, pictured is a stop sign. This would be visual communications.
In the second question, this shows 2 people talking to each other. This would be verbal communications.
In the third question, a police officer is signaling for us to stop using his arm and hand. This would be nonverbal communications.
In the fourth question, this shows a waiter is handing out a menu. This would be written communications.
There are 4 major styles of the ways that people convey their message. When we speak about the 4 types, we speak about the act of how we share the message. The style is the message itself, which will include tone, words, volume, and feeling behind the message. Let's go over them. The 4 styles are passive communication, aggressive communication, passive-aggressive communication, and assertive communication. Passive communication is defined as a pattern of not sharing your opinions and failing to verbally protect your rights to have your needs met. Passive communicators will often fail to assert their ideas or needs, allow others to deliberately or inadvertently infringe on their rights, fail to express their feelings, needs, or opinions, tend to speak softly or apologetically, exhibit poor eye contact, and/or slumped body posture. Passive communicators will have an impact on their behavior and on how others treat them. Just because of the way they communicate, they often feel anxious because life seems out of their control. Depressed because they feel stuck and hopeless. Resentful because needs aren't being met. Confused because they ignore their own feelings. Unable to mature because real issues are never addressed. What are some excuses that passive communicators will make? Take the time now to discuss this with your family member, friend, or direct support team member. You may pause the video now. Many times, a passive communicator will say, believe, or behave like, I am unable to stand up for my rights. I don't know what my rights are. I get stepped on by everyone. I am weak and unable to take care of myself. People never consider my feelings. Now, let's talk about aggressive communications.
Aggressive communication is a way of communicating that usually involves manipulation and the use of language for personal gain. It also expresses needs and desires they do not take into account the welfare of other people's needs. A characteristic of an aggressive communicator will sometimes try to dominate others and blame others, use humiliation to control others, criticize, blame, or attack others, be very impulsive, have low frustration tolerance, speak in a loud, demanding, and overbearing voice, act threateningly and rudely, not listen well, interrupt frequently, and use you statements. Aggressive communicators will sometimes say, I'm superior and right, and you're inferior and wrong. I'm loud, bossy, and pushy. I can dominate and intimidate you. I can violate your rights. I'll get my way no matter what. You're not worth anything. It's not your fault. I react instantly. I'm entitled, and you owe me everything.
This one is a good one. Passive-aggressive communications. It probably can do more damage than any form of communications because it has the capability to really hurt people, which is not good at all. Passive-aggressive communication is defined as a pattern of communicating that is centered around avoidance of true sharing of one's own personal needs, thoughts, or opinions. This, like aggressive communication, is wrapped in manipulation and inauthentic words. Passive-aggressive communicators will often mutter to themselves rather than confront the person or issue for resolution, have difficulty acknowledging their anger, use facial expressions that don't match how they feel, use sarcasm, deny that there is a problem, appear cooperative while purposely doing things to annoy and disrupt, use subtle sabotage to get even rather than working together. Passive-aggressive communicators will often say, I am weak and resentful, so I sabotage, frustrate, and disrupt. I am powerless to deal with you head on, so I must use guerrilla warfare. I will appear cooperative, but I am not.
The style that we strive to live by is the fourth one. It's called assertive communications. The style is defined when a person clearly states their opinions, feelings, and needs and rights without infringing on other people's liberties. People who do this value themselves and others. Assertive communicators will state needs and wants clearly, appropriately, and respectfully. Use I statements. Communicate respect for others. Listen well without interrupting. Feel in control of self, having good eye contact. Speak in a calm and clear tone of voice. Having a relaxed body posture. Feel connected to others. Not allow others to abuse or neglect them. Assertive communicators will say, we are equally entitled to express ourselves respectfully to one another. I am confident about who I am. I realize I have choices in my life and I consider my options. I speak clearly, honestly, and to the point. I can't control others, but I can control myself. I place a high priority on having my rights respected. I respect the rights of others. I am responsible for getting my needs met in a respectful manner.
We must always remember that communicating in an assertive manner allows us to take care of ourselves and is fundamental for good mental health and having healthy relationships. Now, let's do another activity. In your notebook, you will find the 4 types and styles of communications worksheet. You may pause the video now as you locate your worksheet. It looks like this. Now, as you have located your worksheet, we have the 4 types and the 4 styles of communications listed at the top of the sheet with the definitions. As you go through the video, we will play 5 vignettes. In each vignette, tell us the style and type of communication each person displayed. Here is the first one now. Here are the vignettes. Now for vignette number 1. Hello, I'd like to order a cheeseburger and french fries, please. What type and style would this be?
Now for vignette number 2. Hello, I would like to order a cheeseburger and french fries, please, if you have time to fill my order. What type and style would this be?
Now for vignette number 3. Give me a cheeseburger and french fries. I really don't have time to wait, so I want it now. What style and type would this be?
And now for vignette number 4. You're probably too incompetent. You probably have to kill a cow or something. It'll probably take you forever to cook. But I would like a cheeseburger and french fries. What type and style would this be?
Now for vignette number 5. I can't believe there are so many french fries on this plate. They must have used every potato in the world. What type and style of communication was that?
Now for vignette number 6. Sir, here's your menu for tonight. Listed are tonight's specials. What type and style of communication would this be?
So Tyler, the first one.
This one is verbal assertive. The person is speaking his message and is being very assertive in his message and saying what he desires.
In vignette number 2.
This one is verbal passive. The person is speaking their message once again, but is not assertive in conveying what they want and when they want it.
In vignette number 3, there's a definite difference in messaging.
This one is verbal aggressive. The person is speaking their message once again, but is very aggressive in their tone, body language, and message. They are sharing what they want, but they are very demanding.
In vignette number 4, like the last one, there is a definite difference in messaging.
This one is verbal / passive aggressive. The person is speaking their message once again, but is very condescending in their words, tone, and uses sarcasm with a negative result.
In vignette number 5, this one is very simple and straightforward.
This one is nonverbal / assertive. When Luke is speaking, I shush him by using nonverbal hand signals, and he knows exactly what I am saying without me saying a word.
In vignette number 6, again, this one is very simple and straightforward.
This one is visual assertive. The menu is visual, and what is printed on there is assertive messaging, as it specifically shares what items can be chosen from the menu.
So, how did you do? Take the time now and discuss this with your family, friend, or direct support team member. You may pause the video now. Being assertive equals showing confidence. Being assertive helps us to not only show confidence, but it also helps us to connect with people. This is a small list of good tips for us to always remember when communicating and interacting with other people. Stand straight and look people in the eye when speaking with them. Sit down in a relaxed but businesslike manner. Keep eye contact with people when talking to them. Greet others in a friendly way and start the conversation. Don't wait for permission to speak before speaking up. Be organized and prepared for the meeting with people. Be polite and pleasant during discussions. Listen without interrupting. Speak clearly and think about what message that you would like to share. Be a good listener and stay calm.
What makes a good communicator? Take the time now to speak to your family, friend, or direct support team member about what characteristics makes a good communicator and how you feel when you are able to share what you want to say and feel, as well as to understand others. You may pause this video now. So what makes a good communicator? Someone who has learned to listen. Someone who pays attention to body language and nonverbal cues. Someone who observes how others communicate in different contexts. Someone who isn't afraid of silence. It can be someone who uses action verbs and confident language. A person who asks questions. People who work to find common ground. People who are prepared and know what they're going to talk about. People who are able to relax and be themselves. And people who are able to put themselves in other people's shoes.
So now that you have spoken about being a good communicator, what about the question, what makes an individual a good listener? Good listeners do certain things to be a good listener. They can't just be a good listener. Here's a list of what they must do. A good listener is attentive. They make good eye contact. They do not interrupt and show interest in what is being communicated. A good listener does not look over the shoulder of the person that is speaking, waiting for someone more interesting to come along. Looking someone in the eye is many times hard with a person who has autism, but this is a skill that can be practiced and worked on. A good listener does not check their phone or tablet in the middle of a conversation when someone is sharing information with them. They do not focus on other things, but are focused on who is speaking to them.
A good listener is not waiting for their chance to get a word in, treating the period of listening as a pause in their monologue. Being so focused on trying to get one's view over is insensitive and misses the real value in the conversation. A good listener uses positive body language, leaning forward and showing interest. They don't fidget, cross their arms, or turn their back. A good listener does not hurry someone, but asks good questions to guide the sharing. A good listener does not approach a conversation with prejudice, but listens to opinion with an open mind. A good listener cares. They show empathy for what the other person has to say. It's genuine, authentic. It comes from a place of truthful concern. A good listener identifies the areas of agreement with the speaker while avoiding the cliche statement, "I know exactly how you feel," because we don't. It ends up sounding insensitive, trite, or self-centered. Everyone wants to be understood, not patronized. A good listener remembers. They remember and follow up on conversations whenever possible.
A good listener knows how to treat what is shared with confidentiality. They are trustworthy and sensitive with information and never look to use anything that is shared for any purpose other than good. Good speakers don't always make the best listeners. But a speaker who knows how to be a good listener has a profound impact on someone who simply likes the sound of their own voice. Good listeners earn the right to speak because they are sharing more than their own experiences. Take the time now to share these qualities with your family, friend, or direct support professional and how they're positive traits for your life. You may pause the video now.
What if communications result in conflict? What do we generally do when we disagree with someone? Do we argue? Do we withdraw? Do we do anything to win our cause at any cost? In those cases, you might win the argument, but you lose a lot more in the end. Some people say that you win the battle, but end up losing the war. That's how relationships are broken and people become divided. So I will ask my first question again. What do we do again when we are faced with conflict? One thing that we must do is listen and communicate respectfully. When we do this, it will lead to something that is called negotiations. Negotiations are defined as a process of how people come to a compromise or resolution. Here are the 5 basic rules of negotiations. 1. Knowing what you want and why and be able to share the message. 2. Listen to the other person's point of view. 3. Plan what you will say. Do this prior to the conversation, not when the other person is sharing their thoughts. This is when we should be listening. 4. Be truthful. 5. Do not give up.
Let's look at this flowchart. When we fall into conflict, we start in the conflict zone. We then must do step 1 and communicate our needs and advocate for our cause respectfully. We explain why it is a good decision and why the other party should agree. If they agree, then our problem is resolved. But if they do not, then our step is to suggest a compromise. Again, if they agree, all is well. But again, if they do not, then ask them to suggest a solution. If resolution again is not found, then we should continue to discuss methods to solve the challenge. This is active and respectful negotiating. Take the time now to discuss with a family member, friend, or direct support team member a time in which you were in conflict with them. Now, role play the issue and use the negotiating and communication steps to come up with a solution. You may pause the video now.
We would like to hear about your activity in which you role-played a conflict. Send us a video on your phone and tell us all about it. You can email us at luke.barber@esmw.org or tyler.hannigan@esmw.org. Looking to our next module, we will take a deeper look at what it means to be an effective listener and problem solver. See you next time.